This is a production of Cornell University.
I'm Indira Yerramareddy. I'm an Information and Knowledge Specialist from International Food Policy Research Institute. And Luz Marina Alver is head of our Knowledge Management Unit from IFRI. My presentation is about collaboration for impact. Here is our thesis. Modern research organizations produce a tremendous amount of valuable information, which is a vital, fundamental public resource. Organizing the vast digital information and disseminating it in a timely fashion can have an enormous impact in addressing challenging problems in agriculture and related fields. IFRI would like to create a sustained impact of IFRI-sponsored research by facilitating collaboration between diverse groups of researchers, academics, libraries, policymakers, and experts. We chose an IFRI-sponsored conference to test our thesis. In 2011, IFRI organized a high-level 2020 global conference on leveraging agriculture for improving nutrition and health in India. Some of the main objectives of the conference are bring together information and ideas from experts in different sectors like agriculture, nutrition, and health, identify best practices, facilitate networks among stakeholders. As you can see, the objectives of the conference were exactly the ones our thesis wanted to test. First, we wanted to spread the awareness of the conference to all stakeholders. We also wanted to enable dynamic exchange of information between stakeholders, not only to improve the relevance of the research, but also to enhance the impact of research. To enable and cultivate dynamic transfer of information, the Knowledge Management Unit of International Food Policy Research Institute adapted a tool called Mangal, a reference manager and academic social network. It is a reference manager like EndNote, an academic social network like LinkedIn. We adapted Mangal to provide a collaborative bibliography of research publications in agriculture, nutrition, and health. We also provided a space for researchers to share publications and discussions. First, we had a few brainstorming sessions to identify factors to guide us in our choice. Some of the important ones that we identified are shown here. We wanted it to be compatible across platforms, desktop, web, mobile devices. We wanted enough storage space for supporting large number of users because many of the IFRI stakeholders are from developing countries and cost is an important concern. Of course, ease of use is of utmost importance. It is free up to 2 GB space, very easy to use, very user-friendly. It is compatible with all modern web browsers. It supports mobile and iPad apps. After initial discussions with conference organizers, the knowledge management team created a Mangal public group called Agriculture, Nutrition, and Health. The creation of the group is very easy. The categories and tags allowed stakeholders interested in the topics to easily find the discussion group. There are several options allowed for enough customization. So the group was easily identified through branding. The cross-linking of the conference and the discussion group increased the visibility of the conference. The main purpose of the group is to serve as a repository of bibliography of research publications related to agriculture, nutrition, and health. More importantly, the bibliography is crowdsourced. It substantially increases the reach of the same reach and at the same time reducing the cost. There are about 230 members, including followers, in this group. And there are active discussions going on within the group. Here, the group has a geographically distributed membership with diverse backgrounds. As shown here, it covers all the regions of the world. The active members include economists, academicians, librarians, professors, students, and other experts. In addition to these features, Mendeley automatically extract document details when you upload a PDF document or when you drag PDF documents. Also automatically adds document details with DOI, that is Digital Object Identifiers, and pub IDs. Imports papers quickly and easily from resources like Google Scholar, Web of Knowledge, Science Direct, Wikipedia, and many more with a click of a button. You can also highlight and annotate in the PDF documents. You can also search within the PDF documents. You can filter your papers by authors, keywords, tags, or publications. You can cite and create bibliographies instantly. Active discussions are easily facilitated, and the documents that enhance the discussion can be added by different users. Easy cross-linking to social media sites such as Facebook enhance the quality of the discussions. User can provide feedback through useful comments and also express interest through comments and likes. Here is an example of how with one click one can share the documents to different users using different platforms like Facebook and Twitter. The content can also be emailed directly from the group page. One of the advantages of the active group is that it is easy to solicit constructive criticism to improve the quality of the research publications. Though the depth of the comments may not always be the same quality as offered through a formal review process, the rapid turnaround is a major advantage. Here is an example of how a group member from Africa solicited such comments. The public group provides a venue for group members to rapidly and widely disseminate relevant reports to the stakeholder community. For example, we announced Global Hunger Index immediately after release. This allowed more people to know what IFRI is researching and how IFRI is using the compiled data. Here is an example of how many stakeholders read our flagship product, 2011 Global Food Policy Report. The readership statistics are automatically compiled by the system and can be used to make future research and reports and more relevant to the potential stakeholders. The knowledge management team encouraged researchers to create Mendeley personal accounts and groups. Here is an example of how we embedded publications from her Mendeley account to her bio page. She is one of the conference organizers. And see how we have embedded the group Agriculture, Nutrition, Health into her bio page. We believe that this substantially increases the creation of online collaborative communities. So our thesis was substantiated. We have concluded that online collaborative groups are highly effective. One way of fostering such communities is through the creation of collaborative bibliographies and discussion groups. Conference was in 2011, but after 2 years, the message is still passing to different audiences. People are still joining and contributing to a group, and researchers are using for their research. Students are using the library for their theses. Policymakers and other experts are reading and learning on how to improve the lives of the poor people in developing countries. It is a good platform for literature management. It is a platform to bring subject matter experts. Anyone can join to a group, Agriculture, Nutrition and Health, and anyone can contribute a recent and relevant publication to our group, Agriculture, Nutrition and Health. And for technology people, it has a API function also. Thank you very much.
I'm going to present the use of social media in agricultural research workflows in Ghana and Kenya. Initially, we were supposed to add Zambia, but unfortunately our collaborator in the country could not maybe cope up with the pace at which we are working, so we ended up with only 2 countries. That's the outline of my presentation, but it does not mean that that's the number of slides you have. Because under some of those subheadings, you have more than 1 slide. I've been in Africa since childhood. I work there, and I think I know what I'm saying when I say access to research outputs generated especially in public research institutes is quite a challenge. And the biggest problem is that a large number of the outputs is not properly documented. So you don't get, in most countries, national databases where you can go and search and find out what has been generated. And there are very few regional databases. FAO has been working with most national research institutes and organizations way back since the 70s, and a good number of them used to contribute to the AGRIS database. And there you can get at least some of the documentations produced way back in the past. But still, a lot of work has to be done, and we are trying to see how we can improve the situation. And one thing I think which you agree with me is the fact that social media could play a critical role in enhancing the visibility of research outputs from the continent. And this is, I think, basically because of its ability to involve the users in creating content, in sharing content. We know very well that research follows a certain model of communicating results, which are generally done through scientific publications and conferences. And unfortunately, in Africa, you get universities that don't even subscribe to scientific journals. So it becomes a challenge to even access what has been produced within the continent and has been published in international journals, because the institutions themselves are not subscribing to those journals. And that's why you find that programs like TEAL and Research for Life have become extremely important on the continent, in the sense that they make the knowledge, and especially international scientific knowledge, available even to those that may not be able to do so. We have opportunities that may make it easier or enhance access to research from the continent. And if you look at the mobile phone networks, almost all countries have mobile phone networks. Even my mom, way in the remote village, now I can talk to her. In the past, I used to visit the village, and I would be happy that at least for a week I will have no access to the internet. But now I go with my laptop. Because of the mobile phone network, with a modem, at least I can access the internet. So the whole situation regarding social media in Africa has been made much easier by the use of mobile phones, and especially smartphones. Because in the past, you have to be either in the office or you have a computer at home, and that's when you could access the internet and, of course, even social media. But now with mobile phones, smartphones, things are becoming much, much easier. And if you check and see that by 2016, we are likely to have 1.1 billion mobile phone subscriptions. Sometimes I'm tempted to say mobile phone users, but subscriptions is the right one, because on the continent, sometimes we move with 3 mobile phones, or the 3 networks. If you have got 3 networks in the country, you have 3 mobile phones, so that you can carry signals from the 3 networks. But in short, we have a large number of people that have access to mobile phones. And if we could use the social media technology and coupled with the mobile phones, we should be able at least to deliver content to millions of people. Africa has more than 40 million Facebook users, and mainly the young. And you'll see later on, when we look at the results of the study, you find that Facebook, although it features prominently on the social media tools that the scientists claim to be using, when it comes to research, they don't use Facebook. And you see the reason is basically because Facebook on the continent is for the young people. The top 4 social media in Africa: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Skype. These are the ones that you usually find. The research, the studies that have been done, these are the ones that are appearing most. So maybe the question is, are our researchers, and specifically in public agricultural research organizations, are they using social media? That is in general. Are they using it in their research work? What specific media tools are they using, and at which phases of the research workflow? And what is the perceived impact of social media on agricultural research workflow? Those were the questions that we set out to address. And why social media? It's about creating, sharing, adapting, and reusing content. Now, if you want to define social media, and if you start looking at the literature, sometimes you just get up confused. There are so many definitions by so many authors. And after reading the literature, for me, I think that is what is critical: creating, sharing, adapting, and reusing content. And this is done while engaging in digital dialogue and collaboration. And on the continent, that is being facilitated by web-based and mobile-based technologies. And of course, we are familiar with the various examples of social media. Now, regarding the research workflow, that is in our study, we adopted the phases that are highlighted there. Even though research does not follow a linear approach, at least we said yes, identify research opportunities, find collaborators for the research project, secure support and funding, review the literature, collect research data, analyze research data, disseminate findings, manage the research process. And of course, it's not at all these phases that social media may be very much applicable. As you will see from an example that is given here, identifying research opportunities and finding collaborators, there's quite a lot of use of social media. And from this example, you'll see that you find Facebook, LinkedIn, ResearchGate. And basically, it's the social networking tools and scheduling and meeting tools that are used there. And then the literature review phase also has a lot of social media usage. And then disseminate findings. And in Africa, that is one phase at which we feel that social media would have a huge impact in disseminating the findings of research, or sharing at least the results of the research, and more so with the public. And then, of course, there is also quite some use of social media on managing the research process. So we had targeted Ghana and Kenya, and the specific institutions are the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, and the Kenya Agricultural Research Institute. I have to give you the background why these two countries and why these two institutions. FAO, with partner organizations, under a movement called Coherence in Agricultural Research Information for Development, has been working with several institutions, especially in Africa, in trying to assist them with the management and dissemination of agricultural research. And personally, I've been very much actively involved in these two countries and with these two institutions. Under that movement, that is the CIAALD movement, we are trying to encourage research institutions and the scientists to use several pathways in disseminating their research results. And among the pathways, of course, is social media. So that's the reason why we chose these countries and also try to find out how the institutions are using social media. The questionnaire that we developed was hosted on SurveyMonkey. Besides, we said since it's social media, it's got to do with the internet, we might as well put it there. Although initially there were even questions, why don't we use maybe the printed questionnaires? We said no. If they use the internet, if they use social media, they should be able to access SurveyMonkey. And we use the emails to send out the questionnaire or the link to the questionnaire. And basically that's what we had. We had about 109 at the CSIR and 219 researchers that we targeted. And these were basically researchers who were present in the institution at the time we were conducting the survey. Some were on leave. And the responses were 28 from Ghana and 43 from Kenya. And the usable responses were 27 and 34 respectively. Usable responses in this case were those that had completely completed the questionnaire. Because we had cases whereby somebody starts the questionnaire and ends maybe after 2-3 questions, or somewhere halfway they stop doing so. And I think we have some assumptions on why this was the case, and we feel that in some cases it's either due to poor connectivity. They would start and then maybe with the slow loading up of pages, the questionnaire, maybe they would abandon that. And we also feel that there may be cases where the emails that were sent, because a good number of them are using web-based emails, Yahoo and the others, I think they may have even ended up in the junk folders of their emails, so they may not have seen the invitation. But overall, we felt that we had at least a good number to look at. So out of 61, 54 or 88.52, they said they were using social media, which was quite good. And the 30 came from Kari, which is Kenya, and 24 from Ghana. And then that was the composition, which at least it doesn't look like there is much difference there. Mm-hmm. And the early users of social media started in 2000, and there were only 7. And then I think the latest was this year, 2013, who started using social media, at least maybe around January or so. Motivation to use social media. If you look at the bottom, you'll find that to connect with researchers and to enhance personal visibility featured quite prominently. 13 respondents each indicated so. And next to that is connect with family members, which one may call the social aspects of social media. And then you go up, you find some were impressed by how their fellow researchers were using social media. And social media is free, the costs are minimal, so some thought that was motivation enough to make them start using social media. Now here we asked the researchers on which types of social media do they have an account or profiles. And the indication was that social networking services, where you get LinkedIn, Facebook, MySpace, featured prominently, followed by voice over internet protocols. That's why you get Skype, and then discussion forums, microbloggings, and then you go down. And you find that on blogs, the number was quite low, 3.79%, and then audio sharing application was none. So the social networking services feature quite prominently. Specifically, which social media are you using? Facebook, Skype, LinkedIn, and Google+. Those feature at the top. Twitter is somewhere down there. Blogs only one person indicated so. So this is the general use of social media. Now, if you look at access, how are they accessing social media? A good number said that they are using mobile broadband, which basically means that they can access anywhere. They have got modems and possibly laptops, and they could access wherever they are. Then we had 15 who said they are accessing social media at home, 12 at workplace, and then we had 3 who said both at workplace and at home. Now, social media in research, out of the 54, only 46 said they use social media in research, which was also quite encouraging. And 19, they said frequently, very frequently, and then we had 10. Occasionally we had 6, rarely we had 1, and very rarely we had 10. So these could be the researchers who had attempted maybe at one point to use social media in their work. Now, the categories of social media in research. Now, here the numbers basically are beyond 100% or beyond 54 or 46. The reason being that one responded could indicate as many as possible as they could. For example, if I use Facebook in research or at one stage of the research workflow, I will indicate Facebook. Now, social networking services still feature prominently, but look at other applications, which are the 120 mentions, which basically mean that either at one stage it was mentioned by one individual and then another respondent. And when we looked at the actual mentionings, that was Google. The Google search engine is the one that was featuring the most. Now, the specific social media in research that is used the most by the most is LinkedIn, not Facebook. And like I had indicated, Facebook in Africa is for the young, but LinkedIn is always seen as a professional networking site. So this was no surprise to us. And then, of course, Google Docs, and then Facebook come down there. And if you go way, way, way down, 0 blogs. No one is blogging. So what impact? When we asked them about the impact, a good number of them indicated that networking is what they have experienced, and hence networking. And there were several examples. Some indicated how they have even been invited to conferences because of being present on social media. Some that have even managed to get scholarships because of their presence on social media. And then, of course, collaboration on on research projects is being carried out by some of them. The key challenges: unreliable internet connections. This was mentioned by 14 respondents. Lack of skills to make effective use of social media in research, because a good number are still looking at social media for social aspects. Now, to bring it into the research arena, that they say they don't have the skills to do that. And of course, high cost of mobile broadband internet access. Now, if you compare the challenges of those that are using social media and those we had about 10 who say they're not using social media, you find that they're almost the same. Lack of skills and familiarity with the benefits of social media and unreliable internet connection. So the lack of skills to make effective use of social media in research and the fact that there are challenges with internet access seems to be the key challenge in that line. So what we conclude, researchers at the two institutions are of course using social media, and most of them have profiles or accounts on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Skype, which are among the top social media tools used in Africa. But it is LinkedIn and Google Docs that are the most popular social media tools, and not Facebook, which is the most popular social media on the continent and the most visited on the continent. But when it comes to the researchers, LinkedIn and the Google Docs. And basically, they are using social media in identifying research opportunities and finding collaborators for research projects. Those are the key areas on which they are focusing, and there's little use in disseminating research results. And there's need for institutional and social media policies and strategies. Now, this is very critical in the sense that the use of social media in research is more of an individual initiative than the organization initiative. And that's how it is. Most organizations, or most research institutions in Africa, and especially government-based, are more likely not to support the use of social media in the dissemination of research findings, whether it is just abstracts or what. For one simple reason, they are still entrenched in the traditional way of communicating research. And there are no shortcuts. There's a need for capacity development in the use of social media, and quite a lot is being done. The CTA of the Netherlands has held several workshops on the continent, and some that have targeted researchers to show them how to use social media in their work, but there's still quite a lot that needs to be done, more at the individual level and at the organizational level. And these are the colleagues that worked with me on the full paper on which the presentation is based. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Also, thank you to Indira. So these are our panelists, colleagues. If you have got any questions, comments that you'd like to make, if we can make use of the mic in front here, you can come forward and let's give each other the opportunity. If you can just line up there, then we can have your questions. We'll take the questions and then we will have the panelists respond to those comments. Okay, I'm going to use this one.
Hello. This is Johannes Kaiser from the AIMS team at FAO. And my question refers it refers to both presentations. I want to raise the problem of the relationship with with social web applications or systems. Everything what is good, maybe not everything, but nearly everything what is good after a time becomes commercial. This is not criticism. I think that if something is able to make money, is nearly a sign that it is good. And, but it's something that we have to consider. An example, Mendeley now has been bought by Elsevier. But Mendeley by itself already was an economic enterprise. Economic enterprises have their own logic. It's nothing new for us as singles. I'm subscribed to FlickR and paying for FlickR. I'm subscribed to Evernote and paying for Evernote. They change the conditions and I follow. There is normally not a problem in this if we are doing this as singles. If we are doing this as institutions, this is not so simple. My experience with OpenAgris is we are using the Google API in OpenAgris now for some years. Initially, no problem. Open Google API, we are linking metadata elements from Agris to the Google API and retrieve selected material from the Google database. Fine, works. But we didn't read all the little conditions that are attached to this. Last year, we had the first problem. Yeah, but you are over a certain quota of calls to the Google API, and now you have to pay. We said, pay. We are FAO of the United Nations. Then we had some discussions with the Google folks, and they raised our quota. But also with the raised quota, OpenAgris on Google fails after 3 p.m. in the afternoon European time. Because then we had so many requests to the Google API that we are over quota, and partly of OpenAgris is dead. So if you use it, after the quota has gone, Google doesn't respond anymore. How do we handle these problems? How do we handle also with Mendeley if we are using it? And Mendeley, as Hugo said to me, is something we cannot go, we have to use it in a certain environment of research information management. How do we manage these contractual issues? So I think we need to come into some formulations of contracts with this, what clearly defines certain rights. Because this does absolutely not mean not to use or not to or to say, oh no, this is commercial, we cannot use this. But I think we have to define, and how do we do this, such contractual arrangements.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you for that comment. I'm sure it raises many questions and aspects that the panelists might not have addressed as well in their discussions. But I'll give the opportunity to both Indira and Justin to give their reactions to that or make comments if they are interested. Indira.
I agree with you. No single platform, database, or software will give the best results for us. So we had to look on case by case. Like in our case, like we selected a conference and Mendeley worked very effectively. But we are going to get so many conferences in IFRI, so probably we are linking Mendeley and other platforms to test that conference, the coming conference. So as I said, so no single platform will provide all the features.
I don't think I have a comment because the contractual issues, I think they're quite complicated, and I don't think it's an area in which I'm competent. Yeah, but one thing that I do acknowledge is the fact that the use of social media, and especially more for African-based institutions, is in the long run maybe likely to present a big problem. Yeah, because much of the use of the tools is basically based on the fact that it's for free at the moment. So in the event that even if a $1 fee is introduced, a good number of users will have to drop out. Because even though they may have the dollar, they may not have the mechanism to pay using a credit card. I think that's the only comment that I can make at the moment.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Indira. Please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for both of your presentations. I enjoyed them. And I came up here thinking one comment. My name is Dustin Andrews. I work for the Facet Project. It's a USAID-funded project, and it's implemented by FHI 360. I do a lot of social media, and I do a lot of social implementation of a variety of different tools. I agree it's a case-by-case basis thing, generally. But your point, to speak to your point, 97% of the money that Google brings in is advertising. So the problem is the business model. There's no way that institutions like FAO or USAID can change that business model, but that is fundamentally the problem. So if something is free, your users are the product. And I think there's a lack of understanding of that your mass audience is your product, and you need to know that. You need to engage thoughtfully in that context, because essentially you're packaging an audience for Google or Facebook or whoever to sell to. So know that, and make sure you pick your tools accordingly, and you're responsible with your users' information especially. That's one point. Second point, I wrote recently, and it will be out in September, a social media handbook for agricultural practitioners. If you want to be on my mailing list for the Facet Project, come and drop your card at the table out there. I think most of you have probably seen me out there, but we've produced toolkits on a number of different tools. This is the latest one. It will have case studies, research. I spent a long time on it. I think it's pretty good. So please come give me your card. One final thought, that these platforms, especially in Africa, there's going to be this gap between using dumb phones, dumb feature phones that don't have capabilities, and smartphones, which will be dominant in like 2017. But in the meantime, we have a gap here, like a 5-year gap. And a lot of project success will depend on how well you're able to navigate this gap, where smartphones are obviously much more capable, but dumb phones are getting smarter. You can deliver video over dumb phones with really interesting software products like ViewClip. People like Khan Academy and Coursera, we heard this morning, are delivering educational material over dumb phones. It is doable, but you have to be very thoughtful about user design and user interaction. And to date, there's just too many links in the chain to communicate and translate that information that everyone knows on a website to a mobile platform, which is where it really needs to be. So, not so much a question, but a thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Dustin. Any points that you want to make, panelists?
I think that was just a contribution.
Okay, thank you.
So a few questions. One is a simple one, which is, have either of you studied the use of ResearchGate? I'm an ecosystem scientist, and in my own field, I find that there's a lot of sort of research development going on there in terms of both exchange of publications as well as a lot of interesting dialogue that's some topic specific. And I've just come to use it fairly recently, but it's a very rigorous collaboration tool. And then more broadly, one thing that I'm curious about regarding social media is just, since it's a social network, it relies on the user community being willing to put the effort in, and how many times are people willing to build that network? So for instance, in my case, I've now committed some resources to using ResearchGate and have, a few collaborators that I've established through using this product, but if they don't all stay there and they migrate to some other platform, how do we make sure that there's continuity in the collaboration tools, or or how is the community addressing these kinds of issues?
Thank you.
I'm not sure that I got your question correct, but at least I did hear you mention ResearchGate. Maybe one thing that I may indicate which came out of the study was the fact that the tools that the researchers were mentioning are the generic tools. Except for Mendeley, nothing like ResearchGate and the others came up. Because what we had done was we had provided some tools and then indicated which other specific social media that have been created for use in research they were using. And you find that nothing was coming up. And I think it's more because they are more into the generic tools and they are trying maybe to adapt those generic tools into their research work. And I think this is where maybe part of capacity development need to come in, so that they need to be shown the right tools that are there for use. Building networks, in fact, social media largely depends on that. And I may be wrong if I say that some of our researchers may possibly not even have time to spend on building community networks, online networks. Because they are preoccupied with a large number of issues, many of them lack of funds for research. They are looking for money so that they can go on and conduct their research work. But I think it's something that can be built well if proper capacities are built. If they are shown the benefits of social media and they appreciate that, they are more likely maybe to invest in that some of their time to do so. But I must also emphasize the importance of an institutional policy. Because if you are in an institution where even sharing documents in an institutional repository is resisted, then using social media, which even becomes much, much more open, will be much of a problem. So if we have institutions telling their researchers that, look, we have decided as an organization that we need to be visible, and we are going to use whatever platform that is going to enhance our visibility, and we would want you to see how best you can do that, maybe without compromising the intellectual property rights of the outputs of the organization. I think that would help. South Africa is way ahead, and especially the academic institutions, and it's because they have taken deliberate policies and strategies to do that.
Thanks, Justin. Yes. Chinwe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question goes to Justin. Thank you for the beautiful presentation. What I really want to say is that when you were presenting the research process and the way they use social media for it, I was looking forward to seeing use of social media for acquiring information resources. I didn't see it, but I really want to say that I'm a librarian, and we are moving our services to that social media platform, and we also found out that they are not even using it, like you rightly pointed out in your research, that it's the young ones that are using the social media, the older ones, that is the researchers, they are not actually using maximally social media. So, and we try to find out the reason, and it's knowledge and skills. So I really want to find out if you are actually into the real base capacity, because the capacity is very, very important, capacity enhancement, not only because when you talk of research process, you have to bring in the idea of assessing information resources, whether you are really into that basic capacity training. If you are doing that, please try to bring in the idea of assessing information resources using social media platforms. Thank you.
Thanks, Chinwe. Let's take the three questions, and then we can give the opportunity to the panelists to respond.
Thank you. I'm Basil from Uganda. My question is related to what she's just said, but still I'll give it. Justin, thank you for the presentation. But in your presentation, probably I didn't see the age profile of those that you targeted in your questionnaire, because it is likely that maybe the young cadres are the ones Facebooking, they are the ones blogging, they are the ones tweeting, and when it comes to the people who are making the policies, they are the senior managers at that level, and therefore social media is going to be resisted for as long as the senior cadres are not targeted. Probably they do not have the capacity, and so on and so forth. So that kind of creates a gap between who is using, who is aware, and who has the capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Basil. Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. I think mine is not really a question, but a suggestion in likes of what the scientist said and your comment on the business modeling. And I think maybe, Justin, you didn't get into that discussion of perception in detail. There is now this development called VRE, Virtual Research Environment. And if you go to Nature, as you know, is one of the leading magazines in biology and medical science. So there is Nature Network, one. And out of UK also there is My Experiment. These are two platforms that are dedicated for research and scientists, whether to share workflows, lab data, and what have you. So I think it is not that public mainstream social media tools that we really, yes, Mendeley, all those tools are very powerful. They are meant for research and reference bibliographic management systems. But I think if you look into this VRE development, the examples of like Nature Network and My Experiment, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. All right, so let's have Janet, and then we can have some responses. Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you for your very two interesting and useful presentations. I have just a minor comment, a methodological one, because you said the response rate, we realized it was relatively low. But you said maybe some of the questionnaires went to the spam, or maybe they couldn't access it. So I was just suggesting that you supplement it by follow-up Wherever you go to their emails, you could have also go to their phone numbers. You could make some follow-up, even by the same email or the phone. And I agree with all others who have said about the capacity issues you mentioned it, and also others have mentioned about capacity. Just recently we conducted a 2-week workshop on ICT tools, including social media tools for researchers. And incidentally, two of them really have opened up a very nice profession, blogs, which are highly technical, sharing information on their research findings. But prior to that workshop, they didn't know. They didn't know that blogs are useful tools for sharing their research findings. And so capacity development is. Thanks.
Thank you. Janet Kaya from Tanzania. You should just introduce yourself when you come in. But let's give the opportunity to the panelists now to respond and make some comments on those three.
Okay. If she allows me.
Go, Justin.
Yeah, let me start with the last one on the low response rate. What we had decided, and which later on we found that maybe it's made it difficult for us to follow up, was the questionnaire completion was anonymous. So we sent emails with the link, but we did not know who had completed. So the follow-ups that we did was basically the general email. We would send the emails and say, please, if you haven't completed the questionnaire, you do so. And in some cases it worked. But if we had used the mechanism that is inbuilt into SurveyMonkey to send the emails, then whenever they clicked on the link and completed, we would have known who had exactly completed the questionnaire. But we did not want to do that because we have had experience whereby if any information in the questionnaire is going to make the researcher to identify the respondents, some of them would not want to take part, and especially if they are not using social media. And they know very well that they have attended your training workshops. So there's no way they are going to take part. I think that is one flaw that we found. Capacity development. Now, frankly speaking, a lot has been done. I personally have done more than 20 training workshops. I have trained librarians. I have trained the youth in agriculture. I have trained research scientists. And funny enough, it's the youth that are picking up. A number of young boys and girls that I've trained, they are now doing wonders. You find them at conferences. They are the ones that are doing social reporting. They have got blogs that have been winning awards and all the others. With the researchers, maybe we have a large number that are not in their teens in terms of age, which also brings me to the question of the age profile. Yeah, the full paper has the details in terms of the age profiles of the participants. I think the lowest we had was the range starting from 20 years, and we had, I think, the oldest were above 60, and I think in the above 60 category we had only about 6 or so who were using social media, and the others were not. But the large group was between 40 and 50. That's why we found a number that was using social media. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, that's what we had. So basically, that's the situation. Capacity development is being done, and it is targeting the researchers, and some of the training workshops have been held in the research institutes themselves. But the strange part is you would announce the course, it is targeting researchers, and it's free, and lunch will be provided for free. And when you get the participants, 2 researchers, 20 librarians, 3 secretaries, and 4 others.
All right, thanks a lot. In the interest of time, I really have to cut this interesting discussion. We're encroaching into our lunch now. But what I'll do is I'll give the opportunity to Indira if you want to make any comments. Okay. So the 2, okay, 1 minute each. Please come through. Yes.
Okay, my name is Luz Marina Alvarez. I work at FPRE. So I want to comment regarding the commercial versus institutional. It's true. if you go through all this that they are called free, they are preying or targeting your audiences and selling stuff through it. But in the institutional issue, we also face that there are projects going on where the institution has money budgeted, and when the money dries up, then how that thing also dies. So this is just an evolution thing, and we have to be moving and tapping different things. Now, we have to be where the audiences are. Mm-hmm. And if they are there, very interesting what Justin was presenting regarding researchers, the audiences. LinkedIn is a very strong one because they also get a benefit from there, the connection with their peers. The same thing happened, and we saw with the Mendeley thing. They get a benefit because they can build their own bios, they can get their own bibliographies, they can have literature, and so those are, and also have a structure that is safe for them. The researchers do not like the chatty thing that usually happens with the other social media spaces. So we have to think about those kind of things. And the last thing that I will say is regarding the capacity building. I think that that's key because like the ResearchGate, there's another one that is very interesting for them that now called Scoop It. I don't know if you use it. It is just, they don't like to be writing long stories about things. For that, they go and write the paper. But it is, they just like to go to the point and talk to their peers.
Thank you, Luz. Yes, Johan, you have got an opportunity.
I just want to point you to a problem that is coming out of the last contributions. It's not a new problem, and it's my pet problem. It's a problem of getting things interoperable. Now what we get Mendeley, we get ResearchGate, they partly overlap. We get My Experiment, we get Nature Network. I could tell you other 6, 7 out of the European infrastructure program from the Commission where you get virtual research environments. We get a group of different systems what do partly the same, partly different issues, and what are creating, again, islands. Luzma said something really important. She said, we go where the audience is. But the audience also is distributing itself. And if the audience goes to one point, easy. So on social, how to say this, on Facebook, as a social networking tool, has no interoperable problems because it's has nearly a monopoly. If you get monopolies, but if you don't have monopolies, you have a group of different systems, how get we them to talk to each other? Are we creating a new problem, or what do we have to do? Should we, and this is a question, and I would be happy to get feedback from you also outside this session, should we make this to a problem in the next efforts of the European Commission, for example, in the Horizon 2020 program, in getting how to get interoperability between these different virtual environments?
Thank you. So a lot of questions still to be answered, and a lot of challenges, but we have made a lot of headway if you look at it over the years. So thanks a lot for sharing this experience. We now are running into lunch, so we have to come to the end of this session. But I'd like us to give the opportunity and say thank you to the experience that we got from India, from Indira, and also thank you to Justin for the experience from Africa. Thank you.
This has been a production of Cornell University, on the web at cornell.edu.